In the darkest nights, we find our light. Battered souls, but we won't lose sight. Surviving together, never alone. Through every trial, we carry on. Surviving together, never alone. Through every trial, we carry on. Surviving together, we stand tall. United forever. Strength and courage will overcome. Oh, surviving together, victorious, and never, never alone. Hand in hand, we'll face the unknown.
We see you, we hear you, and we believe you.
Hey, everyone, how you doing? You have landed at Surviving Together this Saturday. Yes, I am still in my living room, getting my office set up. I did receive a new webcam from my son for Christmas, and I need to get that set up. So I'm hoping to have that for our Wednesday live, and I'll be back in my office. All my decorations probably won't be up, but we'll at least have the new webcam. So I'm really excited about that and to put that together. I would have had it for today, except I don't remember where I put it. Um, I have had a migraine for the past 3 days. I kind of skated through Christmas, and so I'm not sure where it ended up, but it's here, it's somewhere, and I'm really excited to use it. So you'll have a much better picture here starting on Wednesday. First off, welcome. Surviving Together. We're a safe space for trauma survivors to connect and build community on their healing journey, as well as providing trauma-related education for all. Crystal's here with us. Hey, how you doing? I hope you're having a wonderful Saturday. Um, January is Human Trafficking Month, and January 11th in particular is like the this day. But I wanted to go over a couple of things that have happened since I did my last live introducing you guys with human trafficking. I kind of talked about all these big operations that happened during 2025, and I really didn't think I'd have much to report on it since that was just November 22nd. But by golly, lo and behold, what has happened in the last month, wow, there's just been a lot that has gone on. A lot of kids rescued and a lot of arrests made. And I wanted to bring this to you guys to really hammer in that human trafficking, this is a real problem, guys. It's a global issue and it's happening every single day. And, I bet if I spent the time and the hours like combing through all local news, I would have a story that has something to do with human trafficking, child exploitation, whether it's labor, whether it's sex trafficking. I would find something every single day where there's a story that people are being rescued. And unfortunately, I don't know the numbers, but for every child who's rescued or every adult who's rescued, how many more are still stuck with their traffickers? Um, just recently, I read that I think it was a couple dozen or 19 Ugandans were rescued. They were being labor trafficked. They had answered ads and were promised that they would, have much better wages. But when They got to their destination. They were told that they had to pay more money. And if they couldn't pay the money, then they had to work in order to pay more money for their training for this. And it just kept them in this perpetual servitude. And they were not able to break out. And they had all these people in one room where they were living. I mean, so their living conditions were horrendous. And this is not an uncommon story that I hear about people who are labor trafficked. They're trafficked in large numbers, and where they're being trafficked to, they are kept with very minimal um, standards of living condition. A lot of people cramped into one area. They're not given much money, if at all. The food they provide is really kind of basic to be able to keep these people surviving. So, huge strides need to be made in regards to labor trafficking. So, that was just one story that I read for international. Nationally, there was an operation called Operation Northern Lights, and this occurred in northern Florida. And let me get to my correct story because I don't want to get this wrong. So, across 14 counties in northern Florida, 43 critically missing children were recovered. Um, 9 arrests were made, and those ranged from now, not all of these 43 children were being trafficked, but some of them were. Some it was, they were taken um, by a non-custodial parent. Um, so not all of them are being trafficked, but of those 9 arrests, they do anticipate that there will be human trafficking charges levied against some of them. The kids ranged in ages from 18 months to 17 years old. And it was, I mean, just the amount of departments that came together in order to make this happen, to save these children, it does my heart good. Um, and so this was just on December 18th. So I think it happened during the week before then. So this is very, very recent. So that was Operation Northern Lights. Now, there was also an operation that was conducted, and this was called, uh, again, let me get to the right one here. This was Operation Relentless Justice. They saved 205 children. I'll say that again, 205 children. And this is across the US. And 293 child sexual predators were arrested. 293. And this was a week ago, guys. Hot off the press. Um, of these people, if you think that you don't know somebody, or you would never be in contact with somebody who's a child predator, who's making child abuse material, or who's posting it online. Think again. These people seem like they are your average Joe, your everyday person. There was somebody who was a member of the Air Force who was based in Dallas, Texas. Him and his wife were arrested for producing child sexual abuse material, CSAM. There was also a police officer in Raleigh, North Carolina, who was arrested because he was distributing CSAM. These, I cannot stress enough how prevalent this is. I just, I know some people have commented, you pause a little bit too much sometimes in your videos. And right now it's because I am just still so stunned that I am coming on here with updates, rescues of this magnitude that have happened since I last did one of these just over a month ago. And I thought, okay, if I do another one, it's going to be 2 people here, 3 people there. I'm going to have to be looking into local news. I'm not going to be these big kind of numbers I was reporting before, because I was doing all of 2025 of things that had occurred. This is just in the last month. And so if you add those up, we're at 250 kids with just these 2 operations that were rescued in the last 2 weeks. And thank gosh that they were. It does my heart good to see the amount of people who were arrested. Would I be interested in knowing and following up? And I don't know if this particular report, this is out by the Justice Department because they help coordinate this. How many of those arrests actually end up in prosecution and are successfully prosecuted? Because it's one thing to arrest people, it's another thing to be able to get a successful conviction. I'm interested to see if they follow up and if we ever see those types of numbers. And that's something that I'm going to be looking at into next year a little bit to see if I can follow that thread. I don't know how easily I'll be able to do that. Hi, Body. How are you? Good to see you. So, what else happened? Anything else? Yeah, yeah. There were um, several organizations that partnered up together and launched operations across Oklahoma, Alabama, and Texas. And about 3 weeks ago in Oklahoma, 7 sex buyers were arrested. So people who were trying to solicit sex. Three um, Three sex trafficking survivors were rescued, and two people they believe were traffickers were identified, are under investigation. I'm hoping that that then leads to arrests, but at least, three survivors were being saved. Then there was another one that was in Oklahoma as well, and there were four children under the age of 10 who were rescued. Just incredible. And then for the operation that spanned Texas and Alabama, there were 13 people who were wanting to exploit children. So I think this was done as kind of a sting operation where somebody was pretending to be the child and somebody else was trying to procure those services, sex services, from someone who was underage. And so 13 people were arrested for seeking sex. Um, Two of those in particular were seeking to have sex with children. Six survivors were rescued, and three traffickers were identified. So although these aren't the huge numbers that you saw from Operation Relentless Justice, that was a nationwide. This is just across 3 states from about four nonprofits that got together. And this is what they were able to do. Every single one of those people matter and save from who knows how many more months of trauma that they would have endured had they not been rescued. So kudos to these organizations, Our Rescue, Skull Games Solutions, We Fight Monsters, and Operation Light Shine. They all banded together in order to rescue these children. I should say rescue these survivors because not all of them were kids. So that was across 3 states. In addition, and unfortunately, guys, there are many, many more stories that I could have brought to you from just December, where we're talking about the one offs. This person was arrested for that. One person was saved. It happens everywhere, and there are so many of those stories. But sticking with the CSAM issue for a moment, the use of the internet for not only just distributing CSAM amongst people, but also doing live streams is continuing to increase. And just recently, a couple weeks ago, there was a gentleman, there was a man, I don't want to use gentleman. There was a man in the Philippines who was arrested who was live streaming the sexual abuse of children. I there's a special place in hell for these people. This is your way to make money. You charge a fee for the service. 5 children were rescued. 5 kids who were being used to make CSAM by this one individual. Their ages were from 2 to 13. Let that sink in. In speaking with some of the people with human trafficking behind the scenes, for the series, the unfortunate trend seems to be of CSAM being made using younger and younger victims, meaning the amount of victims who are under 5 years old, 5 years old and under, that number is increasing. And I have to think it's in direct relation to the fact that as more CSAM is available to people, as more people find out about it, figure out how to get into it, they become desensitized to it. Say with the older kids, it's just like pornography. I mean, it is a form of pornography, but it's just like if you're viewing adult pornography, the vanilla stuff, it's kind of boring. So let's watch something a little edgier. And it's why that envelope on adult porn has been getting pushed and pushed and pushed. We're seeing the same thing with child pornography, where the ages are getting younger and younger and younger. And I gotta think it's because of a desensitization issue. People are looking for that next little fix, that next edgier thing, that bigger taboo. And unfortunately, this is the result. I know as our everyday people, we don't have the ability generally to step in to be able to stop CSAM from being made. But keeping in mind everything that we have spoken about in terms of recognizing grooming, recognizing when an adult's interest in a child may be going beyond general kindness, we can potentially step in and cut that connection before it actually forms. Because child predators, some of them are not satisfied with just abusing their victim. They're making material and distributing it. It breaks my heart. It really does. But that's why I think it's important to bring these stories to our attention because at least then we can celebrate when these networks or these individuals are brought to justice, when their network is dismantled and victims are being saved. Um, in mid-December, there were 3 individuals in Florida were arrested for distributing CSAM. They were not making it themselves, but they were distributing it amongst other like-minded individuals. There was also an investigation that was done in Canada, and this was in Toronto, where there was someone who was making CSAM, and this actually occurred. The the investigation began at the end of November, but it looks like on December 11th is when the search warrant was executed, and a gentleman, a person, a man, 62 years of age in Toronto was arrested, making on the charge. Well, he has many charges against him, but basically it's possession, distribution, and the making of CSAM. There was, to my knowledge, no immediate victim who was there who was saved. But of course, arresting this person, getting him off the street, they no longer have the ability to continue to victimize these children who are being used to create the CSAM. So in that light, um, I'm not sure if it's one or two kids were being used to make the material. The way the charges are done, it's a little confusing because one of them says with a person under the age of 16, another one says with a person under 18. And I don't know, they may have kind of overlapping counts at this point. They may not have identified the victim, meaning made contact with the victim to ascertain their age for certain. So they may be kind of covering their bases with that. So that's why I say I'm not sure the total number of victims who are being used to make the material. That was just a quick search that I did. I was actually looking for something else. I had heard this story. Um, it was a YouTube, solved many years later type of thing. And I was looking to find the facts behind it because they said, oh, the names, some names and places were changed to protect, their people, but it was based on um, publicly available material. And I was trying to find the story because it was a pretty amazing story of interrupting a huge multi-state trafficking ring. Unfortunately, I could not find anything. I could not verify any of the details. None of the names were giving me anything, but it led me to these stories of these rescues that had just occurred. And just by looking at some of these nonprofits who are involved, you look on their latest news that they're publishing on their websites, and they're pulling stories from various places. And this is this is what popped up. Hey Misha, how you doing? Dinner with kiddo. Yay! That's awesome. That's awesome. I am counting every dinner that I get with my kiddo because, as you guys know, I've got maybe 3, 4 weeks with him still in the house, and then I lose my baby. Um, I'm dealing with it. I won't say well, but I'm dealing with it. So suck it all up. I can completely appreciate how wonderful it is to have your kiddo in your house. and enjoy your meal. Chris Les, are they catching these perps in the actual act of abuse or just with the material? My understanding by the stories that I read, Crystal, is just that they caught them with the material. Now, the person in the Philippines, that I do not know. I know he was live streaming, but I don't know if he was live streaming at the time of the arrest. It doesn't seem like it, but he certainly had been, you know, during the weeks uh, that it took for the investigation um, to identify where he was. And then it appears that the children, they said 5 kids between the ages of 2 and 13 were rescued so that they were actually being housed at his place. What relationship they had to him, I don't know. That'd be an interesting question to see if these were family members or were these people he basically recruited off the streets. Um, Uncertain as to what that relationship was. But my basic understanding is I don't think they caught any person as they were actually abusing. Oh, Kamel's in the hospital again. Poor guy. Um, Doing better, but could use some love. Okay, yeah. Love, prayers, hugs, good good thoughts, good juju. I mean, whatever you do, whatever you like to send, love and light. Let's send it to Carmel. That's rough. That's rough. That guy is. Oops. I don't know how I did that again. He uh he knows more about hospitals than I think most of us do. So let's send lots of hugs and love. And to anybody else who needs it, right? This is a tough time of year. I don't know how everyone's Christmas went. Um, I basically slept through mine. I went over to my parents. We had breakfast. I did not eat because I had a horrible headache that I woke up with. We opened up gifts and I went to bed. And my parents woke me up. They had already eaten dinner. And they woke me up and I went home and I went back to bed. So, yeah, I didn't really participate too much in holiday festivities. Not like I had this whole plan. I gave my mom puzzles for Christmas. Even as she said, it's been forever since I've done a puzzle, and it's something that we could do together, and just be able to sit and talk. And I thought, oh, this is how we can use some of the time as we're waiting for dinner to be done between opening gifts. And unfortunately, my body just was not cooperating with me. Our weather has been so up and down. The I get either really bad headaches or migraines because of the pressure, and it just has not been a good week at all for me. Um, wasn't too horrible this morning. I was able to manage it with just some regular medication instead of my migraine meds. Trying to sneak back a little bit now, but it's definitely not as bad as it was. Sorry, just reading your comments real quick, guys. Empty nesting is hard. Yeah, when it's your first time, I think if you have multiple kids and one goes away, I mean, yeah, you're not an empty nester yet, you've still got somebody there. Um, but you get a little bit of experience, right, with the breaking the leash. And I do have the utmost confidence in my son. I think he'll always land on his feet. I'm nervous that, he's bought this house and all that means for him. It's a huge responsibility and a really big change in terms of financially what he's going to be responsible for. Also becoming basically a landlord because they're, renting out the other part of the duplex. And so it's a lot of changes. And of course, the mom in me and the lawyer in me wants to step in and make sure that everything's in place. And I'm trying to do that without overstepping. Um, so it's a little bit delicate of a balance right now. Um, I guess personally, I don't want to feel like I didn't speak up and say something and he runs into this huge obstacle and it's something that I could have warned him about or headed off fairly easily had I said something or had I stepped in. But again, right? Facing those obstacles, figuring out how you're going to get around them, that's part of life. So the other part of me is like, don't be too hard on yourself, right? Because he's got to face what comes in his life, just as I do in mine. Hey, Judge, how you doing today? Unnerving for sure. Yeah, it's definitely unnerving. It's thrown me into a bit of a tizzy. There's, you know, not only is it a huge change not having him here, but just for me and in my situation, I'm it's just me then, right? And I'm gonna sink or swim. And I have not lived alone in a really, really, really long time. I'm gonna say since college. Since college, in my dorm room. That would be the last time I lived alone. Otherwise, I either had roommates or a husband, or family or my child. I've always had at least somebody else around. So this is going to be a huge change. Um, we'll see how I go through it. Who knows? I You may find me posting shorts because and this is day 63 of being alone. How am I doing? I'm not sure. We'll see. It'll be interesting. Sorry to hear everyone's been sick. I haven't been sick in 12 to 14 years. Oh my gosh, Judge, that is incredible. That is incredible. Kudos to you. Kudos to you. Yeah, I had that head cold that that I got, which I'm certain was because I went to court 2 weeks ago Monday. And then the headaches are what they are. It's the atmosphere. I mean, there's nothing that I can't change the atmosphere, and we have not unlocked any particular secret to make my head less sensitive to pressure changes. Just is what it is, and it's pretty much always been that way with me. So if anybody knows like how to make your head be less sensitive to pressure changes so that I don't feel it in my sinuses, I will definitely take, those tips. But at this point, I just don't know what else, it just is my body uh, for those. So i- when everything changes a lot, this is normally a bad time of year. And, again, like in April when things are going spring to summer, changing from late winter to spring. that's kind of another bad time for me. So I don't know, maybe I need to move to like San Diego or something, where the weather's pretty much the same every day. Maybe that would help. I don't know. But for right now, I think I'm stuck in Michigan and voluntarily stuck, let's put it that way. My parents are here, they're aging, and I don't think I could stand to be too far away from them at this point in time. Because there is still conversations that's happening behind the scenes as to whether or not I might be moving in with them to help them since they're getting up there. But I'm really trying to get them into a different house first because they need a ranch. The two stories, I mean, right now their bedrooms are on the second floor and the laundry's in the basement. And, just climbing those stairs and stuff at their age is just a little too much. So we'll see. My mom's pretty entrenched though in the house, but with my son moving and he's going to be on the other side of town, comparatively speaking, to where we are. My brother's on that side of town. I don't know. Maybe they'll be willing. Maybe this will be the push, right? If I agree to go either with them or to get a place, close by and not stay on this side of town, maybe that'll be the push we'll need to get her out of that house and get them into a ranch. So cross our fingers, we'll see. I just think, Judge, you have a wonderful constitution. You walk 3 to 5 miles a day and stay busy. Um, I do think that attitude has a lot to do with keeping our stress down. And as we know, stress levels, like that cortisol, it wreaks havoc on our systems. If we can keep a healthy gut, if we can keep a healthy attitude, and if we can keep a healthy body, all those pieces, mind, body, spirit, right? All those pieces work together. So I'm definitely got some changes I could make in regards to that, right? New Year's coming up. That's our time to make our New Year's resolution. Say I'm going to do better this year. We'll see. We'll see. I think that I need to make maybe one change a month. Maybe that's how I'll tackle some of these things that I want to do. I'll just say that I'll make one change a month instead of going, New Year's resolution is to be healthier. Well, what does that mean? Right? What does that look like? Uh, Exercise, your diet, your positive thinking. So we talk all the time about this in regards to goals. Be specific. Um, they need to be specific. They need to be measurable. You need to be able to quantify what it is that you want to accomplish, and then any little incremental steps that you do that get you towards that goal, celebrate. So if your goal is to walk 3 miles a day and you're walking 1 mile, hey, you're doing it. You're walking. You're out there at least, and you can increase it and you increase it, and then soon you may get to that 3 miles, right? And same with our diets. We can just make one small change, and as that small change becomes habit, we can make another small change. We definitely always need to break it down into pieces that are feasible for us, and that's different for everybody. Not a touchy-feely person, Judge. Well, and that does, I think, when you're not in contact with somebody or having them, touching you or whatever. I have this awful thing of rubbing my eyes. I always have since I was a little kid, and I don't even think about it. I don't realize that I'm touching my eyes until I actually catch myself. And so I have no doubt I touched a railing in court and I didn't automatically um put hand sanitizer on my hands when I got back into the car, and I probably touched my eyes and boom, there you go. It is something that I try and work on, but when it's such an ingrained habit and I do it and I don't even realize that I'm doing it, it's hard to stop because you don't realize you're doing it, right? That's where it can help to have somebody around you just say, "Hey, stop it." Unfortunately, although I still live with my son, I don't even see him all that often because he's got his own life and his own entrance and, all of that. So, well, that's awesome. See, Crystal, you can do it. You can do it. You started and then you increased and you increased, and that just goes to show you you can do it. Diet, I eat what I want, Judge says. I use diet, I'm using as just whatever you eat, not being on a diet, just whatever encompasses your eating plan. Let's put it that way. All right, guys. Well, we're creeping on 4 o'clock now. The stats with the human trafficking is really what I wanted to bring to you because we are going to be starting off January running. Um, and throughout the beginning of the year, my hope is I have several people already scheduled, several other people I'm just waiting to hear back from to get them scheduled for the series. But the goal is to have a couple people on a month talking about various aspects of human trafficking. I thought it probably better that way we can put in some other subjects so we're not just doing human trafficking every single live. But I want to cover as many aspects as I can with that. But we'll definitely be hitting the ground running in January with it. I already have somebody scheduled for January 14th, I believe, is the first date that we will be talking about human trafficking. I think that'll be probably our kickoff date, um, close to January 11th, which is the International Human Trafficking Day. And yeah, we're hoping to get the rest of the people locked in over the next 3 weeks and be able to announce the whole series for you. But wow, just in December, just in what's happened since I did the last live doing statistics of 2025, new stuff that I was able to bring you. Honestly, I was shocked, and I was shocked at the numbers. And I know there are a couple of stories that I didn't cover because I found them, and then for some reason I lost my tab of them and I wasn't able to find them again. But there were some international things. There was a huge bust. I think it was like 9 separate trafficking rings that they busted up through Central and South America. And I don't recall off the top of my head the amount of people that they saved, but I lost that particular story and I was trying to find it again. And then that happened just within the last month as well. So probably other things across the globe that I'm missing just because I can't translate necessarily all the different newspapers. So this goes to show this is a huge, huge issue. And I'm glad that we're going to be tackling it. I'm glad we're going to be talking about it and talking about all the different aspects and speaking to people across the globe and see what is going on in their corner of the universe in regards to the issue and what is being done about it. So you have April court dates. Oh, congrats, Misha. I'm glad that you have that. That's a solid, right? That's a solid thing to know. Um, and to be able to look for. And yeah, once you get past that. So I'm excited for you that you at least have some concrete dates. Yes, there's I know of many, many people in the government who have been connected to human trafficking over the decades. And it isn't something that's spoken about a lot. And unfortunately, power can sweep a lot of things under the rug, and justice isn't always served. I don't know how much of that I'll be able to bring to the forefront. Human trafficking, this isn't going to be an issue that's going to go away just by the spring of next year. So it will be a topic that I will be revisiting periodically when there are major developments, or if I've connected with somebody who has something interesting to say in regards to it, or just to bring you new news on it and what's happening in our world, whether that is rescue operations that are taking place or whether that's new policies that are being put in place. The UK has a new policy. It looks like is being enacted that is hopefully going to allow them to crack down on human traffickers easier. So we'll see what happens with that. And I do have somebody in the UK who we're going to be speaking with, and she is former law enforcement. So I'm be interested to see what she has to say in regards to this new law, as to whether or not she feels that it's something that is a positive for their area, or you know, does she think it's going to make a difference, or are they pivoting in the wrong direction? So very interested uh, to see what she has to say on that. So with that, I will let you all get off to the rest of your weekends. I hope you enjoy. I hope it's a great one. I will see you next live, which is going to be Wednesday at 6 p.m. Yes, I know that is New Year's Eve. For some of you, you may be into the first by the time that we're done. I think most of you are at most 5 hours ahead, except for our Australia people. But our people in Europe, I think, are 5 hours ahead. I don't know anyone who's 6. So when we start, it won't be quite. But by the time we're done, you guys already may be doing your countdown for your New Year's Eve. But we will. But I'll definitely be here with you. So see you on Wednesday, and we're going to be talking about goals, about setting goals for next year. And I want to hear about your goals. Do you have things in mind for next year? Whether it's right off the bat, a New Year's resolution, or maybe it's something that you want to put in place later on in the year, let me know. Don't forget to do all the YouTube thingies. I'm not quite sure what you mean, Misha, but if you have something specific, send me an email. That is the best way to remind me to do something. So, Judge, Crystal, Misha, Body, thank you all for joining me. Anybody else who's lurking, or if you're on replay, please hit that like button before you leave. If you haven't subscribed, do so. Hit the all bell for notifications. That way you'll always know when I'm going to go live, when I've posted the thumbnails for it. And then also when I actually hit the live button, you'll get a notification for it. With that, remember, you are worthy, you are valuable, and you are loved just the way you are, for who you are. So hugs and love for me. Mwah. I will see you Wednesday, 6 p.m. Eastern. Surviving together, never alone. Bye, guys.
Through the fire, through the rain, we have walked through endless pain, but we stand, we rise again, stronger now, we break the chain, surviving together, hearts open wide, lifting each other through every tide. The past may have shaped us, but it won't define. Together we heal, together we shine. Every tear, every scar tells the story of who we are. Not just survivors, but warriors too. With love as our armor, we see this through. We see you, we hear you, and we believe in you. Surviving together, hearts open wide, lifting each other through every tide. The past may have shaped us, but it won't define. Together we heal, together we shine. We see you, we hear